All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's get it. Let's get it. Knicks with a massive win last night versus the Pistons to go up in the series 2-1. A game in which it was never a doubt that the Knicks would win. There was never a point in that game where I thought the Knicks were going to lose. Of course, I'm kidding. Of course, it took even a last-second near disaster. I don't even know what to call that. What happened at the end of that game? I still am having trouble grasping the fact that the clock operator could have screwed that up that bad. And instead of the officials letting Jalen Brunson shoot that second free throw again, you're going to give the Pistons possession at the end of the game? When if Cade Cunningham grabbed that ball, he wouldn't even been able to get a shot up. So that was garbage. The Knicks eventually won that game. Ball don't lie. They threw the ball out of bounds on that one possession they got. The Knicks inbounded it, and game over. The Knicks deserved to win that game. They played well in the face of adversity at Little Caesars Arena. Those fraud fans left the arena even with the chance to win. Of course, it was a minuscule chance to win, but still those fans are fraudulent. They bring the energy when they're up. The second they go down, they give up on their teams. You saw it in the playoffs for the Lions. You see it all the time with these teams. So today we're going to be doing a live stream with my guy at Knicks Central. You know the deal. Him and I have a great rapport. He is the most hopeful Knicks fan that I know. And without further ado, let's bring him in. What's up, Alex? How's everything, man?
What's going on? I'm very hopeful.
How are we feeling right now?
I'm happy. We won. You know, that's all it takes is one win, get us back feeling good again. You know, it was a little dicey at the end there. Pistons tried to cheat and do their thing. And, you know, it was a little scary, but I'm not going to lie. But, you know, the game 3 definitely gave me a lot more hope. Game 2, I was, you know, ready to become, you know, Bryce. But, you know, after that, I was feeling good. I'm feeling good now. You got me in a good mood. So, you know, I'm not, you know, predicting championships or anything like that. But, like, Knicks are going to get through this series, I think. And, you know, obviously it boils down to game 4. You know, it just becomes a different series every game. Pistons aren't going to lay down, which is, you know, props to them. But I think, you know, with Jalen Brunson playing the way he's playing and Towns, if he's going to play that tough, I mean, the Knicks aren't going to lose to this Pistons team again. You know, that's just how I feel.
Yeah, I'd like to give the Pistons credit because they were never down for the count. Anytime the Knicks went on a run, they went on a run of their own. Right. I'm not going to say that that's due to them having home court advantage and the crowd largely on their side because they did that at the Garden. I just think that this is who they are. They're a hard-nosed, tough team that isn't going to make it easy for any team to beat them. And, like, on one hand, I want to sit here and bash the Knicks for not easily handling a team that won 14 games last year and tripled their win total this year. And on the other hand, I want to give credit to the Pistons for being a hard-nosed, tough team. I'm like stuck between a rock and a hard place here. I don't want to criticize the Knicks, but at the same time, it's hard to give the Pistons credit, but I'm going to do it. I think that they're a really solid team. Cade Cunningham is for real, man. I think Cade Cunningham is easily a top 15, maybe even top 10 player in the NBA. I think there's an argument to be made that in this series, he's been the best player. Last night, he was not good. And they said it during the broadcast. Oh, Cade's had a good game. You look at their stats. You look at his stats. What, 6 turnovers? You know, he didn't shoot well from the field. When he shoots over 50%, it's very hard to beat the Pistons, Alex. It's very hard to beat the Pistons.
Yeah, well, if any star, you know, the team is central on one star, and they need those other guys to step up like they have been with Hardaway or Harris or, you know, Schroeder. I mean, Malik Beasley has been a nothing in this series, which has been great for the Knicks. He's usually their, you know, second or third best scorer. I mean, and Ivy's been out and Stewart's been out. I mean, they're a little banged up, but you know what? Like, so what? You know what I mean? It's just the Knicks have, you know, are completely healthy, and they're the ones who are getting run into the ground. I'll put it in quotes, run into the ground by the coach all year, and they're completely healthy and in shape. And even Brunson gave Tibbs a, you know, tip of the cap in the press conference, post-game press conference, saying, you know, thanks to Tibbs playing me all those minutes, I'm in shape. You know, and he's obviously being facetious, you know, or joking around. They're just defending his guy, which makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of true. You know what I mean? And you know, I don't know if it was legs, you know, tired legs or not. But, you know, when Cade crossed up or like dropped the OG at the end of the game and then Towns was able to block his shot. Like, when have you seen something like that? I mean, is that, and then Brunson's flying down the other end of the court. Is that stamina? You know what I mean? It's that point of the game where you're running on fumes. So I don't know, man, So we'll see. We'll see.
And let me just say this. I want to give some flowers to Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart. I've been fairly harsh when it comes to both of those guys, and more specifically, Josh Hart, because I felt like when you play him, the Knicks have no spacing because Jalen Duren is able to sit in the paint 15 feet away from him because he can't hit a three to save his life. But for whatever reason last night, Duren was hedging a lot. He hedged and then fell back. But the Knicks would send cutters, and then he'd have to kind of adjust to that. But Tom Thibodeau, that's credit to him as well, because that's the adjustment that he made. The Knicks were moving a lot better on offense. There wasn't as much stagnation with the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands. That's a credit to everyone, but more specifically Josh Hart, who actually had a good game last night, and Mikal Bridges as well. I think that when those two guys are in sync in terms of their cutting and their movement on the offensive end, and also OG Anunoby, the Knicks are at their best. And I still just can't believe they only won this game by 2. You look at the box score, and I think that if the Knicks get even semi-normal production from the bench, it's not like the Knicks have gotten a lot of production from their bench anyway, but over the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, we saw some great stuff from Landry Shamet. We saw Deuce McBride playing like Deuce McBride. He is a non-factor in the playoffs thus far. He's been terrible. Like, let's call a spade a spade. He's been awful, almost borderline unplayable on the defensive side and offense as well. So the Knicks need some production out of this bench unit. You look at the minutes here, Alex, 43 from OG. The reason why he played 43 is because Cade played, I think, 42. Yeah, Cade played 42 minutes. OG played. You got to play OG. Even though at the end of the game, they switched OG and Mikal. Mikal was guarding Cade Cunningham. I don't know if you realize that. And Mikal did a great job on Cade Cunningham last night. So you get 43 minutes from OG, 41 from Hart, 41 from Towns, 39 from Bridges and Brunson.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the Knicks are going to go as far as OG or Mikal take them offensively, because OG is going to play his defense. Mikal is wishy-washy on defense. He can play defense, but he's wishy-washy, whatever. As far as Brunson is going to bring it every game. Towns is going to bring it every game. I mean, he's going to have his games here and there where he's going to have his duds. But for the most part, Brunson and Towns are solid. But Josh Hart does what Josh Hart does. It's about Mikal and OG. They're the ones who are going to take the Knicks as far as they can go because they're very inconsistent offensively. And OG, I think he needs the ball more to be a better offensively. We saw that when Brunson was out. But at the end of the day, the Knicks are not going anywhere without Brunson. So it's not like, hey, let's get rid of Brunson so OG can take off on offense. Like, who cares? So it's really about OG and Mikal. And we saw it last night. And like you said, I can't believe they only won by 2. But I never felt like the game was out of reach. I mean, they had that weird, 6-point swing that kind of brought the Pistons back in the game with the 3. And then Schroeder. And then and all of a sudden you look up and it was 9 straight points. You're like, what the hell just happened? Where'd that lead go?
Yeah.
So if something crazy like that doesn't happen, maybe the Pistons don't really come back. But at the end of the day, the Knicks are the better team. And I think they needed to get on the road in some weird way to feel like the villain and to feel like, all right, we could beat this team. What are we doing? I think game 1, they took them lightly and then they woke up in the fourth quarter. And then game 2, I think they thought they could sleepwalk again after the 21-0 run. And they couldn't make the shots at the end of the game. Mikal couldn't make the shots at the end of the game. Couldn't take him to the next level. He hits those shots and Knicks are up 3-0. You know what I mean? And it sucks because, Mikal's inconsistent and, obviously he's not worth the 5 picks, but, he's got to hit these shots in the playoffs. Otherwise he's not even worth being on the team, so it is what it is. What do you think about that?
Listen, I think it was the best game the Knicks have played all series.
Yeah.
I think there's no doubt in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you got to give credit to the Pistons for making a run every time the Knicks made a run. And the fact that they kept that game close the entire game. The Knicks were up 13 at the half, and then within 2 minutes, the lead was gone in the third quarter. And I'm like, here we go again. Here we go. And it took a 21-3 run from the Knicks. Again, just like game 1, 3 points off to come back and eventually take a big lead, which they'd relinquish a bunch of times. And then eventually at the end of the game, hold them off. Following some big buckets from Brunson, who was not good throughout this game until the fourth quarter. He was objectively the one guy in the Knicks that was not having a good game up until that point. And kind of just shows you the importance that he has when his usage is as high as it is. Alex, my favorite thing from this game, the thing I'm most happy with, Karl-Anthony Towns took 8 threes.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord. He took 5 threes in a game.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And look what happens. You win the game. He starts off, he's firing threes from all over, from 30 feet, from his favorite spot at the top of the key.
From the beginning of the game, too. He was firing. Yeah.
He set the tone. He played amazingly. And this is what happens when you let the best big man three-point shooter in NBA history work. You let him. And here's the thing about Towns. He's such a unicorn when it comes to his offensive game because if he catches the ball in the three-point line, you can't give any space. You have to respect his three-point game. So he pump fakes. They have to go up. They have to contest it because it's usually, if it's Tobias Harris, he's 4 or 5 inches shorter, so he can get that shot up over him. But he's got to contest it. So the second he contests it, Towns is able to get right past him, or at least if Tobias Harris is able to shuffle his feet, Towns is stronger than him, is able to get to the rim or get to his spots 10, 15 feet away from the basket and finish sometimes with contact. And that is what the Knicks need to do. You need to utilize, I hate to say it, their most unique offensive option. Like I said last night to my friend, I'm like, is he the best offensive player on this team? Like, is he better than Brunson? I think Jalen's more crafty and Jalen is more clutch. But when you look at offensive talent, pure offensive talent and just athleticism, he's the whole package. Jalen is more, has 10 times more fundamentals, right? Like, let's look at that objectively. But Towns might be the better offensive option. He might be better. I don't know.
That's fair. I mean, it's fair. I honestly, I think Towns might be one of the most talented players in the entire NBA. Forget the Knicks, Offensively, of course. Yeah. But Brunson is just a better player, and it is what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a mentality thing, and that's why you don't have to worry about those two. Like I was saying in a playoff game, like Towns, you got to worry about because he's going to have those games where he's soft, and like game 2 at the end, he was soft, and I don't care what anybody was saying about it. The excuses are the coach didn't call my number. Imagine any other star in the NBA saying, well, coach didn't call my number. Oh, well, I'm just going to stand in the corner. No, you demand the fucking ball. You know what I mean? It's maybe a couple possessions, but the second that it's going on for almost a quarter and it's the fourth quarter, you go into timeout. You say, give me the ball. Or you go to Brunson in between possessions, be like, get me the ball. You don't just stand in the corner and be like, all right, man, you do your thing. I'm going to be over here.
Can't be.
Yeah. No, you can't. And that was a big problem.
So we got some comments here from my guy, Wabistic's shareholder. He says need more bench production. TBH, 100%. 9 bench points last night. Putrid, terrible. They're unplayable. These guys are unplayable. Campaign sucked again. I think you got to play more than 4 minutes the other night, but he sucked again tonight. Unplayable. Shamit, unplayable. Right. What are you gonna do? Wabistic says Tim Hardaway shooting like prime Steph is what he started 6 for 6 from 3.
That was insane. I don't know what he's doing, man. Why is he like? I guess he's just not afraid of the Knicks. It seems like it, but like
none of these guys
he's not this good. Yeah, none of them are. That's a good point. None of them are.
Too. I mean, Schroeder was playing way above his head. Another one here. Pistons are better than the regular season record. They were super hot second half of the year. Yeah, I mean, this is a team not to take lightly, right? You look at this team. It's easy to be like, well, they sucked last year, which I've said a bunch of times. I don't think that they're as good as they're playing right now. I just like talent-wise, they're playing way above their heads. The Knicks are the much more talented team. It's just the Knicks are getting 0 bench production. It's hard to just rely on your starters in any given game. The Knicks have done it more than any team, maybe in NBA history this year. Like you look at that starting lineup as compared to the bench production, I can't remember a team that used their starters as much as the Knicks do this year.
Top heavy. Yeah, that's for sure.
Another one is Cat also made some good defensive plays in the clutch.
He did. Yeah. That was a play on Cade, that led to the break for basically the game-winning basket for Brunson on the drive. And they open. Defense is all about effort. That's what Jeff Van Gundy always said. Defense is all about effort. These guys in the NBA are so talented. You know what I mean? It's not like nobody can. You can give an average defensive performance just by trying in the NBA. And sometimes these guys that are so good offensively, like Towns or Brunson, are just doing their thing just to what do you call Sorry, somebody opened my door, so I got kind of distracted. Just they're doing their thing just to what was I saying, dude? I just got totally distracted. Sorry. My wife opened the door, so I fucking lost my train of thought.
I also lost my train of thought. So
that's okay. So the offensive and defense, yeah, they save themselves on defense so they can have more production on offense and have their energy up for the offensive side of the ball. And that's what happens with like guys like Towns and Brunson. And that's what they're not good defenders, but not many people could be like Ron Artest or OG Anunoby. And even Anunoby takes plays off on offense so he can play hard on defense. You know what I mean? Nobody has that not many people have that kind of ability to play both sides of the ball that great in the NBA. Yeah.
And on the flip side, you got a guy like Mikal Bridges who sucks on defense when he's bad on offense. And you know who that reminds me of? And we had an issue with this a multitude of times during his Knicks tenure. RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett, when he didn't have his shot working, he looked dejected on the defensive end. He looked lazy. He wasn't playing hard. Mikal Bridges is kind of like that. I don't think to the extent of RJ Barrett because Mikal's a better defender. I think just on the mean of Mikal Bridges' defense is 10 times better than whatever RJ Barrett brought you. So
that's true.
I guess you could take it, but it's unacceptable when he's not shooting well that he's as bad defensively as he is. So my boy Jay, this is who I said this to last night. The Cade is the best player in the series, 10 for 25. Listen, he had a bad game last night. I'm sure he'll respond well. I just think with what he provides you on both ends of the ball, he's again like 10 for 25.
He needs another star. Once he gets another star or like star
That's
level,
the thing. He's the only offensive option who's able to create his own shot. Dennis Schroeder, I don't take him seriously. He's had a good series. Tim Hardaway Jr. has had a good series.
It's also
and you'll see what
their whole offense is Cade getting the ball, driving inside, and kicking out. And then how the Knicks are going to switch, and are they going to go? Are they going to switch? Are they going to stay home? Are they going to
10 for 25? For Cade last night says way more about the Knicks defense than it says about Cade Cunningham's offense. Like 10 times more. Mm-hmm. It was the Knicks. They played well enough defensively to prevent Cade Cunningham from getting whatever he wanted on the offensive end.
That's fair.
Mikal played an amazing game on defense. Mm-hmm. Cade Cunningham has been easily backing him into the paint. He loves the high post. Cade, he's able to maneuver, to get to his spots very easily. Last night, Mikal was not letting him get that easily. So credit to Mikal.
Right. That's fair.
So we got another comment here.
Yeah, I thought you were going on.
Yeah. Cade got tons of buckets in the regular season by posting up smaller guards and shooting over them with hook shots. Yeah, exactly. Doesn't work in the playoffs against elite wing defenders. I mean, it worked in game 2, that's for sure.
Well, and that's why, Brunson's not guarding the point guard. It's a little weird, but yeah.
Andre Lewis says that was not fair at the end of the game when they awarded Detroit to take the ball out on missed free throw. If that was the case, Brunson should have made the free throw. I
said it on no, definitely don't make the free throw. That's a once in a lifetime kind of thing that happened.
It was a perfect free throw. Perfect.
Yeah. And honestly, I said this on my podcast, Bad Weather Fans. I went out today and available everywhere. And basically, what happened was like I said to Mike, my co-host, he's a diehard Nets fan, hates the Knicks, said that I think the Pistons did that on purpose. And I don't care who the neutral clock person is that the NBA said is there. The person there is probably from Detroit and probably a Pistons fan. And they definitely all had a little wink situation. Like they know the rules. It has to touch somebody. Why did Cade go up for the rebound and just go back with his hands back? Like, I'm not touching that. They knew. They all knew, and they were all in on it, and you can't convince me otherwise. It's kind of like the hidden ball trick in the movie Little Big League. When the security guard is in on it when he moves the chair, like, where's the ball? I don't know where it is. And it tags him and he's out. I don't know if you saw that movie. And it's one of those situations. They definitely knew, and you can't convince me otherwise.
I can't even remember. I remember one similar situation. It was nowhere near as egregious as what happened last night. Yeah. But I don't know if you remember this. Game 7 of the first round of the playoffs, Western Conference, Spurs, who just won the championship the year before against the Clippers. In Game 7, Chris Paul hit that lay. It wasn't a layup. It was more like a floater over Tim Duncan. They go up, and there's 0.9 seconds left. The Spurs drop a perfect play that got them wide open to the basket. The clock operator started the clock. He started too early, so they had to run it back. And they come back out with the same play. The Clippers obviously know what's coming. They knock the ball out of bounds. Game over. That's the
Right.
only thing I can even think of that's somewhat similar to what happened last night, and even nowhere near as egregious. Of course, in Game 7 of the playoffs, like that's different. If this happened, like, can you imagine?
Well,
Can you imagine?
I was at a bar last night with friends, and nobody knew what was going on. The sound was on, but it was so loud you couldn't really understand what was going on. And then, like, a couple of my friends, like, somebody picked it up and was like, "Yo, no, they didn't touch the ball, and they started the clock, so that means they have to take the ball out of it." I'm like, "What the like? What are you talking about?" Because he misses the free throw, and they get the rebound, and we all just get up and start cheering, and it's so loud, and nobody could hear the announcers at that point, So, and then we're like, "Why is the game still on?" It was the weird. I never knew that. I didn't know that if the ball, is on a free throw, if they don't touch the ball,
I don't even know if the refs knew that.
Yeah,
I don't even know if they knew what was going on.
Listen, I props to my boy Marty. He knew. He's
he
like,
knew?
Yeah, he knew. He's like, no, it's a ball out of bounds because he didn't touch the ball.
The rule book?
I don't know.
Apparently, I mean that's insane. That's crazy. What Bistic says. What do you guys think about Mitch Rob minutes? Only 16 in. He had 2 points, 4 rebounds. What he does is not always evident in the stat sheet. It's not always evident. He brings a different energy defensively. I hate to say it, Alex, but I think let's look at this objectively. Mitch is not the same player athletically as he was coming into the league, even before his leg injuries. He's still has an insane amount of length. He does not foul like he used to foul. He is still one of the best offensive rebounders in the game. But then again, he's not as much of a lob threat as he used to be. He has no offensive value besides on putbacks. When he gets the ball underneath the basket on offensive rebounds and he either dunks it or he is able to pass it out, he looks a little bit more comfortable with the ball in his hands. He's not constantly looking around and potentially throwing the ball away. He's calm. He's able to, to get the ball to someone else in a dribble handoff or take the ball to the basket and try to score. We haven't seen that a lot, but he definitely looks more comfortable. He, by far, was the best bench option last night. He's been the best bench option besides Game 1 for campaign this entire series. I love to see the lineup with Cat and Mitch playing the 5, Cat at the 4. I think Josh Hart in that lineup infuriates me because you can't have Josh Hart and Mitch Robinson in the court at the same time. You can't. Do you want
he doesn't do anything? Yeah,
that's zero spacing.
And he has no confidence in the shot. Like he had an open 3, I think, last night, and he just like dribbled in. Everybody's like, shoot! At the bar, it was like, shoot! And imagine like it's like Prigioni, like where he would just get the ball and just not want to shoot. It's just insane. And Mitchell Robinson, like you said, what he does, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And even though he can't jump out of the gym like he used to, he can still get up there and get the putback dunks like he did earlier in the series. And I think that was Game 1 or 2. I don't even remember. And
he had a putback last night too, which was just like massive. Anytime he does that, it's an energy boost.
But like if you look at the old highlights, when he was getting the lobs from Ntilikina, he was like up there. Like he was on the roof scratching the ceiling. You know what I mean? And it's not as high, but what he does is so well is the offensive glass, and he changes shots on the defense like that don't show up in the stat sheet. Like Cade is not driving in when Mitchell Robinson's there.
Exactly.
Nobody is. So like that's the thing that you need to have him on the floor, and I'd love to have him in the game more than 16 minutes. But you know what? The starters were rolling so much that you had 4 guys over 20 points. Like you can't just have Mitchell Robinson with Josh Hart, like you said, on the floor. And it was a must-win game, Game 3. You have to win that game because then you're going into Game 4 down 2-1. And then the Pistons have all the momentum and the series in their favor, and it's with the home court coming up. So you had to win last night. You need to win Game 4 too, but it's not as much of a must-win as Game 3 was. That's for sure.
Joe says this. He says it's in a chat. You could answer this yourself. Isn't it challenging to watch a big game like that at a bar?
Well, honestly, personally, Bryce, this. I'm in between jobs right now, and I start a new job on Monday. So this is kind of my last week off of freedom before I get back into the working world. And I'm just wanting to enjoy myself and go out with a bunch of friends. When I was 10 guys, and we just all went out, just a bunch of idiots, and like we just had a great time. It was nearby my house, and it was fun, when they're going on the run and scoring, everybody's cheering and stuff like that. But then, and you also had the NFL draft on and the other TVs and stuff like that, which was hilarious because you're like at halftime, like, how are they only up to like the 6th pick? You know what I mean? They drag it on so much, especially the first few picks. It's like ridiculous. But anyway,
you don't need 8 minutes to pick 15. Come on.
Well,
Like,
also the first pick is the funniest one. Like that's like what like you obviously know it's Cam Ward. It's not like up for debate like who are they going to pick, and like
pick
they've been
and
on the
then get it
clock.
over with. Get it over with.
Yeah.
Come on.
So I mean, it's all TV. You know, that's
The
all.
last time I went to a bar to watch a game, I went to Stout right next to MSG.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it was the game in which Nemhard hit the three from 35 feet. You thought that the Knicks were going to win that game. I believe it was that game. It was game 4, right? It might have been game 3 or game 3.
That was basically the end of the series.
Yeah.
It was like that was ridiculous.
That was so lucky. I don't know. I forgot. Was it game 3 or game 4?
I don't remember. I just remember that shot.
But I know the Knicks win that game.
Fucking shot.
The Knicks win that game. They win the series.
Oh yeah.
They win the
even
series.
with the injuries. Even with the injuries, and they get to the
final. and then OG Anunoby's got an extra week to rest for the Celtics series. I don't think they put up a fight against Boston either way with the guys they have. But the Knicks make a conference finals for the first time since 2000. So
that'd be a success. And
that was it. That was it for me. I'm never going to a bar again to watch a Knicks game in the playoffs.
It's fun.
I mean, losing my mind, and people were like looking at me like, oh.
No, it's better to have like 2 or 3 friends over a house or an apartment and just hang out and watch the game. I think that's better, because you can hear the sound, you can talk, you cheering, you can like root with your friends and stuff like that. So I get that.
Game 3 to go. That's I said.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
I knew it was like to go 3 because the series. So
because they were up 2-0 and then OG got hurt in game 2 and then game 3 and that was it. Yeah, I get it.
And they played extremely well in that game without OG, and it took an absolute Hail Mary to win that game for Indy, and it is what it is. And the Knicks ended up losing the series, but again, they would have gotten embarrassed by Boston in the conference.
Well, Brunson got hurt at the end of the series, and it would have been over regardless.
Well, that too. Yeah,
it would just been nice to be there. Like we're here.
Like at that point, you don't have Bojan, you don't have Mitch, you don't have OG, and you don't have Randall going into that series against Boston, who was completely healthy. I think Porzingis wasn't back yet, but even without Porzingis,
they were
able to handle the Pacers, who were talking a lot of game for that series.
And they got hurt too. They all got they fell apart as well. And that's why the Celtics run wasn't respected very much last year. And I think that motivated them coming into this season to be even better because they want to prove that their championship was legitimate. Because you win 2 in a row, then you're a legitimate, finals winner. I mean, you're legitimate regardless. I'm just teasing, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like you can't forget them. Like the Knicks, like Clyde Frazier always says, like winning the 73 championship, like legitimized the 69 because it was like, all right, now you won 2. Now you're a legitimate team. You're not just some flash in the pan like a Sonics winning a championship in 79. You know what I mean? Like it's something to remember that team by,
Yeah. And the other thing I'll say about that is like, it's unfortunate we didn't get to see, and people hate Julius Randle and thought he was never going to be anything for the Knicks, especially in the playoffs. I really wanted to see what Randle had to bring in last year's playoffs. Of course, he gets hurt against the Heat on January 27th and everything changes. But for Dante too, he was as big of a factor. He was what he did after Randle's injury, I think was enough to make him untradeable. But the Knicks, obviously, you really wanted Towns, and I understand the Knicks didn't have a center, and they kind of had no choice but to give up Dante in that deal. But he's another one of those guys that really would have came out, again with the Villanova guys too, and he would have been a huge factor on this team as well.
Well, you could sit Hart. You could sit Hart in those moments like last night and put Dante in instead of Hart, and it'd be fine. And like I don't want to sit Hart, but you can. But the Sham story about that was that the Knicks had a deal for Towns and Mitchell Robinson what's his name? Randall and Mitchell Robinson for Towns instead of Randall and DiVincenzo for Towns. But the Timberwolves didn't want Mitchell Robinson because they had Gobert. Like, why the hell do we want Mitchell Robinson? So the Knicks tried for the whole summer to try to convince him. That's why Mitch had all those cryptic IG posts of like, get me out of here and this and that, and they don't want me, and things like that. And it was because of that. He knew he was being shopped. And then, at the end of the summer, you get shocked. They're like, all right, fine. We'll trade DiVincenzo,
Zero value, Mitch, coming off another injury.
Yeah.
You didn't know how healthy he was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
He had much more value to the Knicks than any other team.
Well, can you imagine Timberwolves fans if they got Randall and Mitchell Robinson for Towns? It would have been even worse than how mad they got for the deal when the trading Towns. Towns was their guy. You know what I'm saying? So whatever. Who cares? Fuck them.
Whatever. we digress here.
Yeah.
So going forward in this series, Game 4, Sunday at 1. I hate it. I hate a day game like that on Sunday.
Oh, I love it. You want to know why I love it? It's selfishly, I love it. My son's nap time is 1 to 3:30. Perfect timing. So I don't have to worry about anything. I can watch the game. My wife can sit outside, get a tan, and I can just watch the game. It's all about selfishness for me.
For me, I have work from 10 to 1, which sucks because I'm going to be running back from Midtown Manhattan to my apartment with the game on my phone, losing my mind. Hopefully get out to a good start or else.
Right. Well, at least you'll get home by like the first quarter, end of the first quarter. So
yeah. I mean, I won't miss the important moments in the game, but I think going forward, it is absolutely essential to continue to get Karl-Anthony Towns the ball. Like I think that's number one priority for the Knicks going forward. Number two has to be getting the bench going. And whether Tom Thibodeau might just have to suck it up and play these guys a little bit more, even if they're not providing you anything, just to get one or two of them going. Deuce, again, like I said earlier, has been a non-factor. Unplayable almost.
He had a 3, right? He had like 1 3 last night or something, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but that's it. But he's supposed to be like that guy who can drop 20 every now and then, not just somebody who's going to hit a 3. So I get it.
Dribble, dude, he's atrocious. He can't hit water if he fell out of a boat off the dribble. Terrible. Catch and shoot, amazing.
Dunking, he can dunk, he can drive. Yeah, no, I get it.
I like to see the stats on that because it seems like every time he gets the ball and he's got to make something happen, he can't. He's not an offensive creator. He's not a great playmaker. He brings you a lot on defense, and he brings you a lot with catch and shoot threes. He's got a great release, a high release. He's able to get his shot up over similar sized defenders, maybe even a little bit bigger defenders because of that high release point. And you didn't see any of that. Again, like you said, the 1-3. That's it. That's it. Right. That's it, dude. Like I can't see 3 points from Deuce McBride in 9 minutes. And Tom Thibodeau threw him out there pretty early in the first quarter. He was the first guy off the bench. Yeah. Get in there. Let's see what you got. Nothing. He only played 9 minutes. Like Tom Thibodeau was looking for a reason to play him more. At some point,
he loves Deuce. He loves Deuce. Yeah, that's like the teacher's pet, like his little son. He loves Deuce. But I would love to see. I know you're not going to do it, but a little bit of Precious Achiuwa as well. I know I said it the last time we were on here, just a little bit, maybe a couple minutes here and there. Just in the second quarter, like give a guy a breather. I know every minute counts in the playoffs, and I get that. And the Knicks are prepared for this with all the minutes they played over the season. But, he's given a lot to the team, and I would let him get a little burn. I'm not saying like play Tyler Kolek, play these guys. No, I'm just talking about like somebody like Achiuwa who's had consistently in the rotation all season. Just a little weird that how he is. But playoffs, you got to shorten your rotation, so I get that. But it's been tough because okay.
I want to see Precious. And this will never happen because Tom Thibodeau is so stubborn when it comes to his rotations.
Oh, yeah.
The one circumstance that I'd like to see Precious Achiuwa is in a game that Josh Hart has nothing. He's got nothing, so you're forced to play Mitch. And not forced to. I'd like to see it anyway, but you're forced to play Cat and Mitch together for 25 more minutes, and then the backup center becomes Precious. And you play Precious instead of putting Josh Hart back in the game. But it will never happen. Because Josh Hart will be played no matter what, no matter how poorly he's playing, especially on the offensive end. Sometimes he just doesn't have it. Like he looks lost on the court. He's not bringing the offensive, defensive intensity. He's not getting the loose balls he usually gets. He's not pushing the ball in transition. He's giving you absolutely nothing on the court. And it's some of those games. And Mikhail's the same way. There are only a few consistent players on this team. Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby might be the only two guys that are consistent night in and night out, or at least consistent enough to where you're comfortable playing them 40 minutes a game. But Tom Thibodeau is comfortable playing all these guys 40 minutes a game because that's just what he does. And it infuriates a lot of fans. I'm sure it's infuriated you at times over the course of his tenure. This is who we have. This is who the Knicks coach is. You got to accept it, at least for now. Things could change. But for right now, don't expect a guy like Precious Achiuwa to get any run in this series. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. No, and it's okay. It's okay. And it just overall, games 1 and 2, Tibbs was getting outcoached so badly by Bickerstaff. Like it's bad. It was like really bad to the point where it was. You look at it, just you don't even have to like pay attention or even be watching the series very closely. You just have to look at people try to make basketball like it's so complicated. It's not that fucking complicated. You know what I mean? Move the ball, rotate on defense, cut, and hit the open man. You know what I mean? Don't be a ball hog. It's very simple. But so all you have to do is look at it as the Knicks have the more talented team, and in after 2 games in the series, in 8 quarters, the Pistons won 7 of them. What I'm saying? It's just It's just think about that, and the Knicks are dramatically the better team on paper. So that's just coaching. It really is, and I know the players have some, obviously have a lot to do with it, but for that amount of time, it was bad. So then game 3, you got a couple of days off, so you can practice, you can look at some film, and I think it helped out a lot. So let's see what happens in game 4, and hopefully they can just end this series.
This is what Joe says. He says, Bryce, you forget the shots against Cleveland and Philly, maybe the 2 biggest shots in our lifetime for the Knicks. Have to love him. So just because he had 2 big shots in the past 2 seasons, we got to play him now? Just because
Precious?
He was, no. I think he's talking about Hart.
Yeah.
Just because he had some shots last year and the year before, we got to play him now.
Well, you got to. He's the heart and soul of the team. I mean, he's got to play, but he doesn't have to play like every minute of the game. You know what I'm saying?
People forget that he was most effective. I mean, listen, he did an amazing job last year against Philly specifically in the big minutes that he played because they had no choice.
Right.
He had to play a lot. I like Josh Hart the best when the Knicks had an insane amount of depth, came off the bench. He provided the energy with the second unit. He closed some games. That's where Josh Hart is at his best. Yes, he's able to handle the huge workload of playing 40-plus minutes a game. Mm-hmm. But anyone, this is true with anyone. And I understand the Knicks are built for this. They played big minutes throughout the regular season. But anyone, this doesn't just change just because they played a lot. They've got a lot of stamina. Anyone who plays less is able to give you more energy with less amount of time played. It's true in any sport, in any activity. You have more energy when you're,
especially that kind of player. Yeah, especially the kind of player he is, where he's constantly moving. So no, I totally hear you.
You got to start him. You got to play him the amount of minutes that he plays. The Knicks are not very big in the starting lineup. OG Anunoby at the 4. Sometimes Josh Hart's guarding the 4. What the hell are you going to do? What are you going to do? You have to play him. You got to play him. But when he's playing poorly, I think you immediately go to Mitch and the Mitch and Cat lineup immediately. It's just it's a no-brainer. Put them both in the game. Get that paint. If you're not going to get the spacing anyway, put Mitch in the game. Like, get that offensive rebounding threat. Get the paint, protector instead of Josh Hart. When you need rebounds from Josh Hart, you get those rebounds from Mitchell Robinson. Maybe not the weak balls, but the ones at the basket. He's a better rebounder than Josh Hart. Obviously, he's 7 feet.
Well, what's the lineup then? You can't go Brunson, McHale, OG, Mitch, and Towns. I mean, that's crazy. You would have to. That's when you need Deuce in the game because you need somebody who could shoot. You know what I mean? I know McHale can shoot, but
McHale and OG can shoot. Jalen can shoot. But like, what's the difference between putting Hart in versus putting Mitch in? What's
true? That's true.
Josh Hart can't. At this point, you can argue that Mitch is as good of a shooter as Josh Hart.
I don't know about that, but Mitch is probably just as good off the dribble as Josh Hart. That's for sure. You saw,
I mean,
on the break, you saw somebody. I forgot who it was. Anticipated Josh Hart's one move with the side sweep move that he does, or whatever it's called, and somebody caught him and was waiting for him. I forgot the play. I forgot who the player was on the Pistons, but it was really funny. Laughing at
the Pistons have come prepared for the transition threat that Josh Hart is. I think that they've been getting back extremely well. The Knicks at the start of this past game, they wanted to move. They wanted to, run the ball up the court, have a high amount of pace. That's not something the Knicks did throughout this season, but it was an adjustment to make. And then once, they slowed it down, they were able to get more on the offensive end because the Pistons were doing a great job. They anticipated that. They were ready to get back. And they slowed down the pace of the game. The Knicks ended up winning it. And it was a much more high-scoring game than the first 2 games of the series. And, you understand why. Also, because the refs, middle of the game, just decided, hey, we're going to start calling fouls. And the Knicks adjusted to that well. And it's better when that happens. When that happened, I looked at that as this is a major plus for the Knicks.
Oh, yeah.
This is like if they're letting things go, the physicality of the Pistons just completely outweighs whatever limited amount of physicality the Knicks bring. So now that they're calling fouls, terrific, amazing. This is to the Knicks' advantage. In the first 2.5 games, that was to the Pistons' advantage. So things switched. I think at that point, it was just getting too chippy. You got to call fouls there. You're setting a dangerous precedent if you're allowing the majority of those things to go. They made the right choice there. And of course, the Knicks benefited at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I mean, I've nothing else to say to that. It's fair. What do you think about the rest of the series? You think they're taking it in 5 or 6, or you think the Pistons win it?
I think the Pistons. I think they win in 6. I think that
the Knicks win in 6.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that Detroit's just gonna fall on their sword here. They're not gonna just they're not gonna lay down and die. They have something with this team. They've got nothing to lose. There's not much pressure on them to win. They're the 6th seed again. Last year, they won 14 games, tripled their win total. The first NBA team in history to do that. They're playing with house money at this point. Teams that are playing with house money, with less to play for, less pressure, tend to overperform. So as much as I'd like to say that the Knicks can win it in 5, of course they can. But if we're looking at this objectively and who this Pistons team is, I think 6 is a little bit more likely. What about you?
I want to say they win in 5. I think, I think they will, because I can't see a way that if I think they're going to win game 4, and I can't see a way that they lose at home to the Pistons. I know that they lost at home at game 2, and they should have lost game 1, but I just can't see them having a third bad performance at the Garden. Maybe I'm being, very positive there, but I just can't imagine that with the way the crowd will be if they win game 4 and game 5. So I think the Knicks take it in 5. I think the series, I think last night was the turning point there.
Let's hope. I mean, a series win in 5 versus 6 is just, listen, we talked about this the last time that, the Knicks don't have a good chance as it stands with Boston. But, you really want to talk about no chance. The Knicks play the series in 6 games of the series, and Boston may sweep.
Right. And Tatum is hurt. So you want to get to them as quick as possible, too, if you're looking ahead. I don't want to look ahead in a series, but if you are looking ahead, you want to get to the Boston as soon as possible before Tatum can rest up and get healthy.
Well, the series is still going to start at the same time. Just both.
It is? Oh, wouldn't it if they – well, I guess if all the series
– think about it. There could be 2 series that go to game 7. They're not going to be by game 3. There's another series by game 1.
Right.
Good.
If anything, they'll start game 1 when game 7 is going on or something like that. It would be like that, something like that. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, Alex, this is a pleasure. Good luck with your job. I don't know how often we're going to be able to do this going forward. Maybe you're around for a pregame or a postgame.
For sure.
At night. More Knicks games coming our way. If they lose to Detroit, we'll definitely hop on and flip out. And I'll of course scream at you and tell you you were wrong all along. And I hope that's not
during the Celtics series. We'll get on once the Knicks win this series. We'll get on.
Okay, he's confident. He's been confident all year long. And I'm confident too in the series. But you could check Alex out on his podcast, Bedweather Fans, wherever you get your podcasts. It's a fun dynamic between a Knicks fan and an idiot Nets fan. Who's there's only 5 of them, so he's one of them. And Evan Roberts is another one. So that's 2. And then Sean Morash, that's 3. I know 2 other people, that's 5. So that's
there you go.
But Alex, I really appreciate this, man. And let's go Knicks. Let's go Knicks,
dude. All right, man. Let's go Knicks.